Peace be upon you all. Really great to be with you. And I would like to also echo my appreciation and gratitude to the organizers for the opportunity and for the invitation. I'd like to speak a little bit about the state of literacy in the world. And against that background, I'd like to also move to what is being done and focus on one effort, albeit big effort. One example that I think is doing a marvelous job is a deep, broad, and very rapid initiative for education. Kofi Annan said, literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. You can look at the word misery and unpack it, and you can see all of its ugly manifestations or ugly manifestations. And you can also look at the word hope and look at its myriad possibilities that it possesses. That bridge from misery to hope, there are many people around the globe who need to cross it. About 128, according to the UN numbers, 128 million children are denied the access, the opportunity to education. 70 million of those are girls, females. Somebody said, if you teach a boy, you teach an individual. You teach a woman, a girl, you teach a community. And that's where Malala's activism really is phenomenal when looked at and considered against these numbers of children who do not have access to the ability to read and write. For adults, about 800 million adults around the world are illiterate. So if you put it all together, it's almost 1 billion, which is about 1/7 of the population of the earth that is illiterate. And we want to educate for peace. We want to go beyond literacy so that the person can internalize all the good things that my colleague said about peace and sustaining peace. According to the UN, it'll take $5 billion a year for several years to achieve universal literacy. If you look at that number, and I read in one of the publications of the UN, and they use this not to be political, but just to put that $5 billion a year in perspective. In 2008, the war on terror during George W. Bush presidency, his war, the budget for that year was $189 billion. And according to the report I read, that is 37 years of funding for universal literacy. If we could only spend a fraction of money that is put on waging war to waging peace, what a great world it would be. We would have the hope that my colleague mentioned. In 2006, the UN also published, and I think this is a call for humanity to think about what our priorities are. On makeup, $18 billion were spent on makeup products in 2006, probably went up in 2014. For pet food, $17 billion, and perfume, $15 billion, and ice cream for just Europe, the consumption was $11 billion. $5 billion a year for education, and I leave that up to you to reflect on what our priorities are when we think about waging peace instead of war and educating for peace. We need resources, and it is everybody's responsibility. It's not just the UN. The UN is all of us. Each one is responsible. The economic cost is estimated to be about $1.19 trillion of illiteracy. And the social consequences are many. And that is what Kofi Annan referred to as the misery. There's a lot that have been done, is being done, and hopefully will be done about literacy. The efforts are moving on. We need to confront illiteracy, and it is being confronted, and with it, ignorance, which I believe is a root cause of conflict and the one that leads to eventually violence, intergroup, individual to individual, state to state, all types of conflicts and violences. In 2008, a student came to our department from Turkey and was telling me about the Hizmet movement, which I have never heard anything about before then. And he told me about the spiritual guide and teacher, Fathullah Gulen, and I haven't heard about him at that time either. So in 2008, I made a trip to Turkey, and I spent most of the week in schools looking at PK through 12. And I also visited public schools, mostly in Istanbul and Ankara. And I saw the difference. There was something, nobody told me this is what we do, it's just my own observations. Something that as soon as you enter a Hizmet school, you see a difference in tone of the teachers, the administrators, the staff, and the students. I was very fascinated. So I went back again in 2009, and 2010, I made more trips. I went to Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, Singapore, also Albania. And last summer, I spent some time in Erbil. My friends want me back. I don't know if I dare go at this time. Went to Erbil, Sarajevo, and also some parts of Turkey that I have not been to conduct more interviews with students, with teachers, with administrators, to unlock the secret for my own curiosity. What is it that made this movement, which I later read more about, have 2,000, approximately 2,000, and the number may have gone up by now, 2,000 schools in more than 160 countries. It's deep, it's broad, and it's very rapid. I was left with the question, what explains the rapidity and the breadth and the depth of the spread of these schools? And they are mostly in areas where there is social conflict, poverty stricken, and in some areas also drug infested. These schools are making a difference in the lives of the students, and in turn in the lives of the families that they belong to, and in the communities that they live. My interviews, and I'm going to read some excerpts from 3 interviews, one in Sarajevo. This was with Echo. Echo is a high school student who is a genius in physics. He did not find the nurturance for his love for physics in the school he was at, so he went to the international school, which is a Hizmet school in Sarajevo. And there, he went to his room. It's a boarding school. And he said, I'm just here to study. I don't want to interact with anybody. But soon, this is the day he moved into the dorm, 2 roommates came in. We are your roommates. And they happened to be Bosniaks, and Echo is a Serbian Christian. He was afraid how he would be perceived, how he would be treated by the 2 roommates. He was right away, they said, come and have tea with us. And afterwards, they played basketball. They became instantaneous friends, instant friends. And later on, as their friendship developed, they invited each other to each other's homes. Echo said something. He said, my dad fought their parents, my friend's parents. I wonder if my dad killed one of their parents. He's left with that. He said, I feel very guilty. But now his attitude has changed, and so had the attitude of his roommates. That is in Sarajevo. In Erbil, I talked with a young lady who went to the high school there, the Hizmet school, and now is second year at Ishak University in Erbil, and is an RA. She is the resident assistant, but that means nurturer. It could be a tutor, the confidant, the counselor. Really, that role is very, very big. And she said, my teacher, English teacher, helped me work through the resentment I had toward the Iraqi Arabs because of all the gassing that took place against the Kurds. She was full of resentment. But her teacher, who said to her, is this resentment killing you, or is it killing those people whom you resent? She said, I thought about that, and her teacher helped her work through all the anger, all the issues that were pent up inside. Naseem is the third one. In Lahore, Pakistan, where I went and gave a presentation 2 years ago, and he said, what I learned from my teachers is that whatever they tell me, they do. They never tell me something that they do not model for me. In peace education, we need to model it. They need to see us, the students, the kids, they need to see it. Merely telling them is not going to do it. The actions, as was said earlier, speak much louder. Naseem said, what I learned is the day there was a huge flood in the Punjab province, and the teacher said, this is your chance to go and render service, which underpins the Hizmet movement, that ethic of service, to be a servant and of benefit to others. He said, I went with the teachers, we worked together, we did our relief work, and then when it was to come at night, said the teachers already had permission from our parents to stay if we needed to. So they stayed with the victims of the flood. He said, my teachers led by example. I see that my time is up, and I have about half the presentation uncovered. It was great to be speaking with you.